Is it that time of the week already?
I've been looking forward to this project for a while, and I think I'm ready. Today, we are going to be making croissants. For this project, we'll need a stand mixer with a dough hook attachment. First things first, add 4 cups of flour to your stand mixer. We will need a 1/4 cup and 2 tablespoons of sugar. And whenever I'm measuring out my ingredients, I always use a butter knife to clear off the edges so that I get exactly what I want. About 1 tablespoon and 1/2 teaspoon of yeast. Put in 2 1/4 teaspoons of salt. The next thing that you'll need to do is you'll need to take about 3 teaspoons of butter, or tablespoons, I should say, and put it into your stand mixer. It's time for the wet ingredients. Now, take some milk and pour in 1/2 of a cup. Then add 2 more tablespoons of milk. Do the same with water. Put down the top of your stand mixer and put it on low speed for 3 minutes. Then, put it on medium for 3 minutes. Heavily flour a plate. Then transport your dough on top of it. Then, cover it with plastic wrap. Open up your refrigerator and place in your dough. Allow it to refrigerate overnight. Get a piece of parchment paper about this size and lay it on your workspace. Get out 2 1/2 sticks of butter and cut them so that each slice is 1/2 inches thick. Arrange your lengths of butter like this, and fold the parchment paper over. Now, begin to roll it out so that it reaches 7 1/2 inches each length. In order to make sure that your butter is square, trim off the sides of the butter and place them on top. Now, I've already done this, so all I have to do is fold the parchment paper over and lightly tap it down with a rolling pin. Now I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for later. And I'm going to get out the dough that we made yesterday. Get out your flour and heavily flour your work surface. Get out your dough and place it on the flour. Then take some more flour and gently rub it into the top of the dough. Roll your dough into a 10.5-inch square. Get out your butter square and place it onto your dough. Arrange the butter so that the corners match up with the midpoints on each side of your dough. It's time to laminate. Take each corner of the dough and fold it into the center of the butter square. Your dough should look like this. Lightly flour the top and bottom of your dough. Roll the dough out until it's an 8 by 24-inch rectangle. Now we are going to tri-fold the dough. So, take your measuring stick or a tape measure and mark with whatever you have. Right now I have a nice serrated knife, and mark at 8 inches lengthwise. And do that for both sides. Fold the dough so that there's 1/3 remaining left. And do the same thing. Now there should be no excess since you marked this off each at 8. Reshape the dough and you should be good. Now, get your plate and place it on. Place plastic wrap on your dough and put it in the freezer for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes has passed, open up your freezer and take out your dough. Repeat the rolling process. Put saran wrap over your dough and put it back in the freezer for 20 more minutes. I think you know the drill. Open up your refrigerator and put in your dough to refrigerate overnight again. The next day, take out your dough from the refrigerator. Again, flour your workspace. Take your dough, place it on your workspace, and lightly sprinkle it with flour. Then take your hand and make sure that every crevice has a little bit of flour on it. Then take your rolling pin and lightly tap the dough to wake it up. With your rolling pin, roll out your dough until it's 48 inches long and 8 inches wide. Trim off some of the two sides so that it is exactly 40 inches long. Mark your dough at 5-inch intervals from the start to the finish. Do the same thing, but on the other side. But, starting from the finish, give each side 2.5 inches so that this will make a perfect triangle. Connect the markings that you've made on each side. In the middle of each of the small sides of the triangle, make a little notch halfway. This will help when we're rolling them to let the edges spread out. Get out some chocolate chips, a knife, and a cutting board, and chop up the chocolate chips. Pick up a triangle and stretch it out so that your dough becomes very thin. Sprinkle some of the chocolate onto your dough. And do these with all of the other triangles. Take your hands and where the part is, roll them along the dough of the croissant and begin to flare out your hands. This will allow the dough to stretch out and have that crescent shape that you want. Place your finished croissants onto a long pan covered with parchment paper. Make an egg wash by taking 1 tablespoon of water and 1 egg. And then with a fork, whisking it together. Wash your croissants with the egg bath that you just made in order to let them proof. If you want to save some for later, put them in an airtight bag and put them in the freezer before you put egg wash on them. Allow your croissants to proof for 1.5 hours. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit on convection bake. For the second time, I am using the egg wash to brush the croissants. 10 minutes after you've proofed them for the second time, put your croissants in the oven. Once your croissants are golden brown, about 8 to 16 minutes, take them out of the oven. Voila, you're done.